It doesn't really make sense. Why is the Pump token one of the worst performers this week, when at the same time we've got the buyback program? All of the fees that are generated through Pump.swap get directly funneled into purchases of Pump, yet Pump is performing that poorly. Let's have a look at what's behind all of this. Let's see whether or not it makes sense to buy Pump low now, because that's in the end what crypto is all about, right? It's about buying low, selling high, and currently Pump obviously is not very high. Here's an overview of the tokens in the Memecoin space. And while the Pump token isn't a meme coin itself, it's the leading launch pad for meme coins on the Solana chain. It went down by more than 30%, while other tokens in the space lost much less. The total value locked on Pump.swap continues to go up. Yes, we had a bit of a retracement recently, but in general, the trend looks healthy. Now, this is in US dollars. Measured in Solana, maybe there is a bit of a plateauing, because here's the TVL measured in SOL. There's a bit less volatility here, and yes, in the last 2 to 3 weeks, there hasn't been that much growth of Pump.swap. Now, the price of Pump developed pretty much like a roller coaster. First we had our ICO, a massive dump subsequently, then the recovery after the initiation of the buyback program, and now we are coming back down. Here is the long-term relative valuation chart of Pump to Solana. We always want to look at relative valuations, not just at US dollar charts, in order to remove some of the macro impact. As in, when Bitcoin goes up, then most altcoins go up as well. When Solana goes down, most altcoins go down as well. So looking at the relative performance makes more sense. We had our initial massive dump. That was an underperformance of 70%. And that was due to worries around the tokenomics. Now, the supply of Pump actually didn't grow during the time, but people looked at the tokenomics. They didn't really like how the number of Pump tokens increases over time. Thus, the ICO was sold off very quickly. Now, we are currently at 430 billion Pump tokens, and this will grow all the way to 1 trillion at some point. Now, because of this massive sell-off, we had the introduction of a buyback program. And pretty much all of the revenue that the Pump platform is generating per day is flowing into buyback programs. There's a bit of a fluctuation here, but in general, it's 100%. Here are the purchases measured in Solana over time, and so every day we tend to have $1 to $2 million worth of Pump getting taken off the market. The program really started taking off on the 7th of August of this year, and so far 113 million worth of Pump had been acquired through that buyback program. Now, the 7th of August, where is that on the relative valuation chart? The answer is here. That's the vertical line. This now shows Pump not relative to Solana, but relative to the others market cap. So relative to all the other altcoins. And we can see the overall positive impact long term. Pump so far has outperformed other altcoins by 50%. Now, the recent decline, which is 33% from the all-time high, it's pretty comparable to the decline that we already had at the end of August. So even during the short lifetime of the buyback program, we already did see comparable volatility in the past. Pump is still, in terms of liquidity, the largest trending token on the Solana chain. It's got 21.6 million in the liquidity pool. That's more than Fartcoin, which is at number 2, which, by the way, is the leading meme coin that was launched via Pump.Fun. But there aren't too many transactions happening on chain. In the last 24 hours, we only saw 301 wallets interacting with Pump on Solana. Here's a trend I do not like. The number of retail investors tends to go up, but the number of whales tends to go down. So it seems like there's a process happening of the whales dumping on the retail investor. And the whales tend to do the smarter moves, right? The whales have that much money for a reason. They tend to be more skilled on average. Crypto is a game of both luck and skill. And so over time, capital more and more accumulates towards the skilled people. The whales tend to be more skilled over time. So when they are selling, that's not good. The number of whales went from 900 all the way down to 570, while the number of retail investors is close to the all-time high. It tends to trend up over the days. Now, how do we make this distinction in the first place? We are looking at minimum holding thresholds. So to be counted for the chart on the left, a wallet has to hold at least 180,000 Pump tokens. At the current price, that's roughly $1,000 worth of the token. For the chart in the middle, we go at 10x, so that's now $10,000 worth of the token. For the chart on the right, another 10x, so that's now $100,000 worth of the token. The short-term price discovery definitely does not happen on the spot market anymore. In the last 24 hours, we only saw 46 million worth of trading volume. And that was interestingly enough on Hyperliquid, which is a perpetual futures exchange, but which also offers spot trading. So a lot of that trading volume is simply just arbitrage trading of spot versus the perps. Most trading volume actually happens on the perpetual futures market. And here we had 422 million worth of trading volume. And even the Hyperliquid trading volume on the perps is larger than the trading volume on the spot market. So really, the price discovery happens on the perpetual futures. And here, most people are betting on rising prices. So most people on the perpetual futures are actually bullish on the pump token. The longs have to pay the shorts to get more price exposure. But that's then the potential danger, because the more short-term capital is in an asset, the more risky that asset is. There is correlation between open interest on the perpetual futures and the spot price. When there are more bets on the price, then the pump price tends to be high as well. When there's less bets on the price, then the price tends to go down as well. It seems like currently the trend is rather bearish. It seems like pump is seeing less leverage over time. And maybe we'll get back to the 400 million level again. Currently, we are at 700 million. Let's revisit again the pump relative to Solana chart. It seems like we are somewhat balanced. And yes, the price is going down to a similar degree to what we've already seen in the past. But if we're really honest to ourselves, we do see how the perpetual futures market is currently deleveraging and how we are currently rather in an at least medium-term bearish trend. Despite the regular purchases of the pump token, the perpetual futures market really determines where the price is headed. And I think it's best to wait until we have broken out of this negative trend to bet on rising prices again. Yes, long-term is very likely going to outperform the rest of the altcoins because in general the platform is in good health and because the tokenomics have been improved so much. But there will be a time, to be more specific, July of 2026, when we have to be a bit more cautious again. This is when the insiders get their tokens unlocked and when they can sell their pump, and they might do exactly that gradually over time. But until then, pump still looks healthy once we have broken out of this bearish medium-term trend. We just have to wait until the deleveraging has finished. Now, there is somewhat of an argument to be made that altcoin season might be imminent. And so that's based on the others dominance chart. It shows how much of all of crypto in percent is currently in the altcoins that are not in the top 10. And this seems to bottom out at very similar levels, and it might have just bottomed recently. In the past, when we were at similar levels, the altcoins outperformed the rest of crypto by more than 300%. So I understand this argument, but there's a bit of a problem with the argument because the other dominance measures the market cap, but market cap is a very different thing to prices. There's a dedicated website called Tokenomics AI that does nothing but measure the token inflation of various altcoins. So let's have a look at Aptos, for example, here at number 1. This is the Aptos price relative to the altcoin market cap. Since March of 2023, this went down by 88%. And the reason is an ever-expanding token supply. As there's more and more tokens hitting the market and supply is higher than demand, then of course the price has to go down, at least relatively speaking. This is the Aptos market cap chart over time. It's at very similar levels compared to February of 2023 at roughly 3 billion, so barely a change. But in February of 2023, the Aptos price was at $18. And now it's at $4.39. So this is how much impact token inflation actually has. The others dominance does not look at prices. It only looks at market caps. But we do not get market cap returns. We get price returns. Market caps can be unchanged. Prices won't be unchanged if the supply just keeps on increasing. Now, how much of a problem is this really in the grand scheme of things? Is this just a few select altcoins, or do we see this on a broader scale? The answer is somewhat depressing. We unfortunately do see this on a broader scale. So each week we see roughly 1 billion worth of token unlocks. If we do not see at least 1 billion of additional demand coming into the altcoin market every single week, then the prices have to come down. The others' dominance might be unchanged, but the price of individual altcoins definitely do get negatively impacted. Aptos is currently the 42nd largest cryptocurrency. It's just an example. Let's have a look at the top 100 cryptocurrencies. In the last year, Bitcoin went up by almost 100%. We've got 26 out of 100 altcoins that did better than Bitcoin. 73 altcoins did worse than BTC. And so here's what I personally do. I'm simply just betting on bad altcoins to continue to do worse. So we can just flip this chart around. This is the Bitcoin price relative to the Aptos price. At the bottom, we've got the others dominance again. So the others dominance did not change at all in the last 2 years, right? It went flat while Bitcoin's price relative to the Aptos price appreciated by 400%. So this is really where I believe the alpha in crypto is. It's the market inefficiency of highly inflating altcoins. I'm following this strategy already for roughly 4 years. So I'm betting on poorly performing altcoins. I'm betting on them to go down further, while I'm betting on rising Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. And because of that, I outperformed just dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. Dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin is shown here as this light gray line, but I got the performance that's shown in the black line. So there is a way to beat the market without trying to find the few winners. We can simply bet on the market structure, on the constantly increasing token supply of many altcoins. It's maybe not as straightforward as just buying a single token. Some things have to be learned, but that's why I made dedicated videos on the topic. I try to make this as simple as possible, so there's really only 2 videos that have to get watched. The first video is using perpetual futures to bet on relative valuations. The second video is risk management with relative valuation bets. Once you've watched this 1 hour of content, you know exactly what to do to get this kind of performance, to set up positions like this. After you've watched those 2 videos and you've joined the community, I will send you my favorite trade that looks very similar to Bitcoin relative to Aptos. If with that trade you do not make money after 1 month of holding the position, then I will refund the membership fee to you. So those $125 are actually not what you're risking. If you don't make money with this favorite trade, you just get that money back. Just message me and I will refund you, no questions asked. Of course, besides this favorite trade, I will also share every single trade that I execute in real time as well. You can simply just copy trade me. A link to Premium will pop up directly on the screen over here. Just click on that. It will lead you to the website. If it's your very first time here, feel free to subscribe as well. I publish videos on YouTube regularly. See you next time on YouTube or see you in Premium. Cheers!